And go.
Okay. Live. Welcome to Little John's Yarns. I'm Alicia. If this is your very first time here, what we like to do, we like to talk about a little bit of crochet and, of course, drink a little bit of wine. And today we're going to dive into the depths of crochet history with my very favorite crochet antiquarian and one of my faves, Ayita Reclectic Goods. Welcome back. How are you doing, my dear?
Fabulous, fabulous. And thank you for having me here.
Oh, you know what? I've been meaning to have you back lately. If it wasn't for the crochet summit, I
Right?
think I would have fell off. But getting back into the whole uh meet the maker and talking to crocheters again, and it's so much easier to talk with somebody else when you're online instead of just me talking into a blank camera, hoping I don't have a dull moment. So I'm glad I have a buddy to
Go.
talk with today.
Great. Great.
So before we get into crochet in the 1800s or Victorian era, can you introduce yourself? Tell them who you are and where to find you.
And where to find me? My God, I'm everywhere. Anyway, I'm Ayita, founder of Reclectic Goods, which is eclectic and everything reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose, reimagine, redesign, So my particular affinity is vintage and antique crochet, uh, with strong tendencies to the laces. Thusly, I spend a lot of time in the 1800s because they're just, the lace designs were so fabulous back then. Um, Antiquarian just means I'm not a historian. I am a continuing student because there's always something to learn. And I absolutely love researching the history of crochet, the history of the stitches, the fibers, the fashions, those kinds of things. And so I'm just a continual student, but I love to share that also. So I'm on YouTube, Reclectic Goods. I'm on Instagram, Reclectic_Goods. I'm on Facebook, Reclectic Goods. I do believe I also have a Twitter and a TikTok, but I am like never there.
I
So,
have a Twitter. I haven't tweeted since like 2016, so I don't
right.
know.
The website's real easy, reclecticgoods.com. All the links are there.
And don't worry, I was smart. I linked all of your information down in the description box below. So you can just scroll, click on it, make sure you save and favorite it and subscribe and follow all those good things. And I'm just going to hop into the comments to see how everybody's doing. We
Yeah,
got
because I can't see them.
from a fave, hi Alicia, and Contessa Aida from Angela
Oh,
Pop.
from Angela, yes.
My Tracy says, I turned my notifications on for this. I am very interested in it and thanks. All thanks to Aida because I'm just lucky to know somebody that knows all this crochet history. You are just, your brain is amazing to me. So that's why.
That's right.
All right. So do you mind if I hop into like this very first
No,
question?
let's go for it. Let's go for it.
All right. So we're probably going to start back, I don't know, the earliest that you can think of. What are some of the garments that were crocheted during the era of like the 1800, mid 1800s? What were the crochet items for
Um,
clothing?
yeah, the in the 1800s, we'll just call it the Victorian era, even from
Yeah.
all of that. Um, I have found that crocheted items were kind of in two categories. One being that they loved Tunisian crochet, absolutely loved it, probably because it resembles knitting so much,
Hmm.
and like apparently everybody knew how to knit. I can't knit to save my soul,
Me neither.
but you can Tunisian. So items that required weight or an insulation value, I'm seeing a lot of those were done in Tunisian. Petticoats for the winter, your overcoats, because remember, they were wearing so many layers. They
Hmm.
didn't have to wear bulky outer garments. You just needed that one protective cloak, overcoat, because you already had 5 layers on before you got there. You
Yeah.
know? So the those layers that were basically, like insulation values. your overcoats, petticoats. I have one behind me.
Let's show
Those
that
were
in a
done.
second.
Actually, I have two behind me that were done. Those were really commonly Tunisian sweaters, or polkas, as they were often called, tended to be in Tunisian as opposed to regular crochet. Regular crochet was the fine stuff. That was where your maybe your spring, your warm weather petticoats, possibly. But then those were your undersleeves because we did not show our arms. And until the 60s, they had these large pagoda sleeves. So they had to have something to fill
This
in
was
that.
stuck out from
Yeah. So what you see in a
underneath.
dark, yeah. So if you see like a sleeve looks kind of large, but you see all this stuff coming out from underneath that, odds are it goes from the wrist all the way up to the elbow.
Okay.
So they wore the undersleeves, of course, your collars, any trims. They trimmed everything, all your table linens, your bed linens, everything had a crocheted lacy trim or a lace trim of some sort. But crocheting the lace was faster and less expensive than bobbin and needle lace.
Yeah. So for the undergarments, you said a lot of those were like crocheted and Tunisian crochet. Was there a preference like for undergarments over knit and Tunisian crochet? Or it was just
Not that I
whatever
could
that,
really, no, not that I could, that I've really found in, we'll say, last 4 years that I've been doing, that I've really been into that era. Um, that seem to be pretty balanced, and I do think it's because Tunisian crochet emulates knitting so closely that you could essentially, if you know how to do a Tunisian knit stitch, you could essentially take a knitted pattern and emulate it into Tunisian crochet if you needed to do so. And since they were undergarments, they weren't seen anyway.
okay. I know like right now you're writing an article or you were asked to write an article on the anniversary of Lion Brand.
Well,
So
at least to give them a blog shout out. Lion Brand yarns, yes, the as best I can tell. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. They are the last U.S. based and longest family owned yarn company in America. Because now we have to say that because Red Heart is no longer U.S.
yeah.
Red Heart belongs to Spinrite, which is AKA Yarn Inspirations Canada. Aunt Lydia's Canada. So they went on the market in 1878.
1878. I wrote that down. I don't know.
I
Wrote
was
it
like,
down.
I'm trying to like, I had notes, but I misplaced it. So happy anniversary, Lionheart. They are actually one of my favorite suppliers. I think they've been um, consistently reliable in quality, quantity, color choices, selections. We have a couple issues with some finer threads that they discontinued, but but overall, U.S. based and still very family run. They just opened a new warehouse, and if anybody's gone and seen any of the videos of how automated this place is, it's amazing. I mean, literally, like they put your order in, this robotic cart goes up, and arms come down and pick stuff up and put it. It's wow.
That's crazy. So
It
have
is
you been right?
crazy.
So have you been right? How far are you along, or this is still like a thought in your mind? The article, your
Oh
blog.
no,
Shout out.
it's kind of like, okay, maybe back in the day we had to make chart, break them down. Can't remember what that word's called. Anyway, basically you're like idea, 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 idea. And
Yeah,
so we're just in note stage. And
that's okay. But it's crazy. I was looking. I did a brief summary. I didn't know if right now. I'm not smart. I have their bullet points pulled up on my phone, set off to the side.
yes, and one of their favorite bullet points was the 1912 Manual of Worsted Work.
Oh, that's not
That
in my note. What is that?
Yes, that is one of, in my opinion, that is one of the absolute best pattern yarn manuals that was definitely put out in the 20th century. but and it's definitely the best one that Lion Brand did. They did one in 1915 and 1918. Sorry, Lion Brand, love you, but no. Their 1912 Manual of Worsted Work. I have done several pieces out of that, and it just, I love that book.
Okay. Why? Could you do me a favor? Could you pull out your petticoats if you don't mind? And everybody, it's an audience right now. If you have any like questions you've always wanted to ask Reclectic Goods, Ayita, please make sure you put a question mark first so I know to bring to the front so we can answer and get all these confusing things out of the way. It doesn't have to be about the Victorian era. It can be anything
Oh,
crochet from whatever. She's just I don't want to I was going to use the word well, I am going to use the word vomit. You just vomit out information that you think everybody knows. I'm like, say what
I
did you
do.
just say 3 times?
So this particular petticoat is done in panels. These panels, right? Where is it? These panels. This
Mhm.
is actually Tunisian. It is a Tunisian simple stitch, so it's not difficult. You just have to know where to put the decreases so you get that little chevron thing. This one is actually patterned in 1867. I added these little extra lines because I did this for a competition for Foundations Revealed, but everything else is correct. I mean, the pattern is correct. No change there. I just added a little extra floof there because you can take
Yeah.
an artistic license with it. So yeah, that's one of the petticoats.
I feel like that would be so warm.
It
You
is.
wouldn't
This
need
one
no
is
out.
actually wool blend. It's really super light. Trust me. Okay. First of all, wool is so light.
Mhm.
It is thermoregulating all year round. So yes, you can wear wool in the summer in the desert. Trust me, nomads have been doing it for centuries. Okay. It's just what layer do you put it on? Is it the one against you? Is it the one out here? So you're creating that air barrier that causes the insulation. What layer is your wool layer? This one is a short petticoat. This is the one that goes closest to the skin. Okay.
Okay.
So this would be her first layer.
Okay. Okay. There's more after that one. Okay.
There's more after that one, yes. Okay, technically, she would have her shimmies, she would have her corset, and she would have that petticoat and probably her drawers. Okay. Then
Mhm.
she's going to put on her 1867, so her early bustle cage kind of thing, cage crinoline over the top of that. Okay, over the top of the cage crinoline goes second petticoat if it's really, really cold out.
Okay.
Oh, and it's caught in a hanger. Hang on. It's hooked. It's hooked. Okay. Now, this one goes over the cage.
Okay.
Notice how much larger this piece is.
Yeah.
Okay, because this goes over the cage. This also, this one I took artistic license in. The pattern, the stitches, the layout is absolutely pattern period correct.
Mhm.
The fiber is not. This is organza ribbon.
You have it. Got it.
So, yeah, I took a little creative license because actually I was making this kind of a costumey piece for myself, but the patterning is actually correct. It is made in one giant piece, goes all the way around, but considerably size different.
Blanket. It's like a full size bed blanket.
I mean, it's pretty darn big. As at the bottom, it's big. But this would be the next. If she needed another layer of insulation, she's going ice skating, or believe it or not, they did go hiking in the winters and stuff like that. They love their winter games. Then
Oh,
this one is what goes on over that. This one is 1870. So we're close,
okay.
2 3 years. You can still wear the same petticoat. So, and then over that would go like a smoothing petticoat, probably just cotton, and then her skirts.
And then the skirt.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's a lot. And I'm just walking out in leggings.
What characteristics make a garment a petticoat? Okay, that is a tricky question. Petticoats, say, like in my case, like this big monster right here, can be the skirt. Petticoat is a skirt, right? It does, it's one of those words that terminology across decades determines whether it's an underskirt or whether it's just a skirt.
Yeah.
Now, even if it is a petticoat that you're wearing as the primary skirt, inevitably through a couple centuries, you're going to have an overskirt of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just like your bodice has a really long skirting attached to it, that bottom part, that's an overskirt. And what was under the overskirt, everything under your overskirt is a petticoat.
Got you. Somebody, OMG, I would get so hot.
The good thing about that is you probably would not, because remember, you have that first one, which is right up, basically against your legs. But then you've got a cage crinoline, which is going to hold that black one. It's going to hold that black one about a foot to 3 feet away from your body. So you've got this big bubble of air. Okay, you got this bubble of air. That's where your heat stays to your body, is in this bubble of air. It's not right up against you, and all you have to do is graciously, go off to the side and just whoosh that skirt a little bit, let some cold air in there, cool yourself down.
But it makes sense. We didn't have HVAC. Nobody had like heating, and
Yeah.
So
that's why that's why you always you see a lot of pictures, and even if they're just pictures, you see the ladies holding fans. That's just because you got to do what you got to do. Out.
Right. So we talked about some of the garments. What are some of the like fun things they made, like decor things they made back in this era?
Oh my, yeah, I have some patterns saved that I have not done. The Victorians love to decorate every surface. I've got to deal with her for a second. Out.
That's okay.
Out. Go see Papa. Go see Papa.
Makes sense, but I live in Hawaii.
Thank you.
Yeah. You said about the petticoats.
Oh, yes. Honey, trust me, they still wore all of the layers when Victoria's adopted niece, Queen Victoria, there was royal family in Hawaii that Victoria kind of claimed as hers for a period of time. They wore the entire ensemble, the entire set. So she had multiple layers, even in the tropics. But anyway, so no, the Victorians decorated every surface possible. They loved to over embellish when they could. So there are things that are, you have your kerosene lamp. Okay, has that nice bulb top on it.
Yeah.
That's not really pretty during the day when you don't need it. So they made dolls that sat on top of these lights. So literally, like, her skirt covered that glass dome, and they had little either paper dolls, sometimes porcelain dolls for the bodies. But they made full-on skirts to go over these lamps during the day, so you didn't have to look at the soot-covered glass. You could just put the doll on it. And of course, doilies on everything. Anti-macassars, and an anti-macassar is just that.
I was just about to
remember
ask.
Grandma's piece that always had that thing on the back of the chair or on the back of the couch kind of thing? Those were there to protect the upholstery from the gentleman's hair oils. Okay? So if he's lounging in his chair, because it was cheaper to take that antimacassar off and launder it than it was to reupholster the couch.
We always had a solution, like,
yes.
Let me fix that.
My grandma's either had some kind of crochet thing over the arms of the couch, the back of the chair, or embroidered tea towels We had
Mm-hmm.
those like everywhere, and that was, basically to protect the furniture. It's like they were the original slip covers.
Yeah. Look at some of the stuff like my grandma would make, or I have some items that like my great grandmother made. I know these women had 850 children. How I don't understand how they found the time to create all these things. Like right now, aren't you creating like 3 outfits? Six. Okay, double
Well,
that. You're
six
creating
six pieces, six pieces,
six
right?
six pieces. Can you imagine having like 9 kids, taking care of the animals, keeping the house heated?
Right, keeping the yeah,
And
everything you had to do. Of course, as soon as the kids were able to have chores, everybody had a job,
yeah,
and it was and they had to, because they relied on everybody doing their job. That way, we had all the animals fed, dinner made, wood cut, laundry done, et cetera, et
mhm,
cetera. I think my grandmother's probably did it not so much out of need, but that was her time. That
yeah,
was your escape time. And if you go through like all the Victorian eras, and if you look like Godey's Ladies Magazine, Peter's magazines, there's a section in there usually called the work table. And that was a common thing to be done in the ladies' parlor or the sitting room. There was a table that was hers. That is where she sat and did the mending. That is where she sat and did her crocheting, knitting, embroidery. So it was called the work table. And
yeah.
thusly,
Her little office.
magazines would put all of these articles towards the women under the work table.
That's crazy. Okay, wow.
She could
I never
just
thought about
claim
that.
her little corner, but that was her corner. You don't touch anything in that corner.
All right. Oh, I just want to remind everybody, if you would like to help support my channel via super chat, you can always do that. If you see a little dollar sign in the chat area, or if you're watching me on Facebook right now, I think they do stars. I still don't know how that works at
I don't
all.
either. Yeah.
I don't know. But if you donate on Facebook, not Facebook, YouTube, my bubbles and lights will go off. And I forgot to put up the wheel of patterns, but I'm going to do that behind the scenes in a little bit. But now back to you, Miss Ayita. All right. We were talking
Okay.
about what I want you to be one day in the future, how you just need to be behind the scenes of
So,
a movie set somehow. We were talking about the Gilded Age.
yes,
What would you do if you could, if this was your dream job, you're working behind the sets, what would you do to improve a show like that?
the Gilded Age needs more lace. I don't think they realize how much lace the Victorian era loved. Now, the Gilded Age is in the latter portion of the Victorian Age as we're going into the Edwardian, so 1880 to like 1900, somewhere in there. But every surface, literally, I'm like, I look at the sets and I'm going, there's no doilies or just linens that hang just over the tabletops. Just these small little embellishments that are just not there, because you didn't have bare. It was uncommon to like have bare surfaces. Remember,
Mhm.
if you have a bare surface, it can get damaged. So they put coverings on top of everything, even if it just, coasters, tray covers, doilies everywhere, to protect the furniture finish, because it costs more to have it refinished than it does just to protect it in the first place.
Yeah.
And there have been some of the dresses I thought maybe could do with a little extra embellishing. Would be nice.
Mhm.
Um, they don't have to be, totally overboard, but there are definitely some pieces I like, maybe just a little bit more, maybe a little bit more floof there. Um, would be nice. The hair pieces, they were still pretty much wearing, you always had something on your hair, even if you were in the house. You always had some kind of a head covering. A lot of times those were just really thin silk kerchiefs but they were often trimmed out. They were very rarely just plain. Nobody could just have plain, and especially not for the Gilded Age, because we're talking about New York money. The whole thing with the Gilded Age is old money versus new money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, so if you haven't watched it, and you haven't figured it out, and if you do watch it, Mrs.
I love
Russell,
it.
yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the Russells, those are the Vanderbilts.
Yeah. I had to
Okay,
research them. I'm like, I was gonna
you know,
love the show.
the names have been changed to protect, but the Russells, that's the Vanderbilts right there. So
Uh-huh.
it's old money versus new money, but you still had some social uh, things that you just expect. And I just think they need to be just a little bit more fiber arts out there as opposed to so much manufactured material. You can see it.
I wonder why it was overlooked because they pay so much attention to detail.
Because they have to cut somewhere.
And
They
that's
have
a
put
really
so
handy.
much effort and into those costumes for
Mm-hmm.
all the tiers. I mean, from Mrs. Vanderbilt down to her servants, they put so much into those costumes that something has to give.
Yeah.
And things like the fiber arts, they get tossed out.
Yeah.
Unless somebody goes, oh my God, they run down to the thrift store and, you know, and go, hey, what when we put this in there? Because really, fiber arts in general, we just don't get recognized. We don't get thought of. We are an afterthought.
Oh, oh, we have a super chat.
I see bubbles.
Yes. Olga Joe, I'll
Yes,
go
Ola
first.
Joe, Andrea.
I
I love
love you
you.
both. Great wealth of knowledge on panel. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you so much for donating via super chat. Okay, I forgot to share my screen, so we're going to go behind and get this fixed. And you're going to spin the wheel of patterns in
Bubbles,
two
bubbles, bubbles,
seconds.
bubbles.
Okay,
Cheers to
there we
cheers to
go.
Miss Ola Joe.
Did it go? Here we go. And here's to you.
Perfect summer sandals.
Make sure you email me at, uh-oh, I lost my girl. There we go. Little John Yarns at gmail.com. My email address is in the description box. Just click on that. And thank you so much. Oh, and somebody had a question for you. I got to scroll up. I have to find it.
Yeah.
It was Jeanette's.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's right. U.S. Archives has a PDF of the Manual of Worsted Works. Am I allowed to provide that web address? Oh, yeah, sure.
Archive.org.
There you go. Archive.org.
Archive.org. I will just tell you right now, the my two favorite research spots: antiquepatternlibrary.org and archive.org.
Oh,
I do
you
not.
guys.
I don't do those other free pattern sites. I don't have the patience for the ads. I admit it. I don't have
Yeah,
patience for the ads, and I don't get the entire book.
you want it all.
I want it all. I don't want just that one page pattern. I want the entire book.
Oh, and this is for anybody. If you know somebody, your cousins, your aunt, sisters, brother down the street happens to work in the movie industry and they need a crochet antiquarian on their team, make
Or
sure you,
museums.
yes, or
Museums, reenactments.
yes.
You know,
Have you
yeah.
ever done anything like that before? I mean,
That is what got me started, actually.
how so?
I have a friend that does reenactments. She's not doing so many, but she did reenactments at our local cow town, which is set in the post Civil War mid 1870s. I think is the time frame we're working with usually.
Mhm.
And they had, I guess, some events coming up, and she just goes, "Hey, can you make a pair of undersleeves?" I'm like, "What's an undersleeve?" I don't know.
This is,
She's, you know, this is before I have a clue what I'm talking about.
I was about to say, this is before the madness.
This is before the madness because this is the madness. This is the reason for the madness. I said,
Okay.
"What are you talking about?" So she literally sends me pictures. She goes, "These are undersleeves." I said, "Oh, okay, sure, maybe. I don't know. I'll see what I can find." So I start, you know, And at the time, they were mostly called manchettes. Everything had a French name, a manchette.
Huh?
And I found a set that are like 1853, actually. They could still be worn, but they were, I just like, oh, I kind of like those. So I sent her the picture, said like these. She's, oh, perfect. Okay, that started it. First of all, I have no idea if the thread size is correct. I have no idea if the needle size is correct. I was still quite ignorant in the difference between UK terms and US terms. I don't know what plain crochet is. I do now.
What is plain
So
crochet
I
for us?
basically made that manchette 3 times before I got it right.
What is plain crochet? What?
It's single crochet.
Oh, just a regular old plain, nothing,
Right,
plain
right.
crochet.
So they would, so many of the early patterns, even if they were printed in like Godey's Ladies magazine, the early ones were still going to be in UK terms. So it would say single, that's a slip stitch. Complete the rest of the row in plain crochet. That is a single crochet.
Gotcha.
Because, and then depending on the authoress, usually an authoress, not an author, but depending on who wrote the pattern, you would sometimes get it called a double. But you just qualifying it as plain crochet just meant is a single crochet stitch.
Was it like common to use? I guess so in the lacier patterns, common to use like a double crochet. Well, for them it would be a treble crochet.
The
Was it
double
common
now
to?
the double, well, our double is their treble, but in the patterns that I started with, those were in UK terms. So if it said double, that's a single.
Okay, but was bigger stitches like used often for like when did
No,
okay,
no. They did not like up until 1860s. It was
uh-huh.
not common to see a double crochet, a taller stitch. They just didn't like them. And half doubles didn't even exist. They just didn't even exist. There was
Okay.
no such thing as a half double.
That's the simple one. Whew.
Yeah, it was single crochet back and forth. If you saw a double, which they before they called it, even before they called it a double, or it was
Trouble.
called a long stitch. So you had
Okay.
your double. So the double is a US single. A long stitch is a US double.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's right up into the 1860s. That's just kind of consistent. You see plain crochet, double, long. Those
Yeah.
kinds of terminologies in there. The long stitch was used to make the rows that your cord would go through, say on your collar, on your waistband. It's called a beading row. That's what that is. That is when you would see most frequently the double crochet is just big enough so that the ribbons could be woven through. Other than that, no, they used lots of chains. They'd rather chain 3 than put in a double.
When did like double crochet, UK treble crochet become more popular? Because I'm a lazy stitcher. Sometimes give me a half and a double.
Yeah, especially I haven't really figured out when the half double came into being. It just kind of like appeared late, like 1880s. It just kind of appeared.
Oh,
The doubles, I see those more frequently in the later 1860s and forward. So, they're 1800, to see, to the Industrial Revolution, 1795. So the onset of when crochet had its name, it came into being, it's being popularized. Doubles didn't exist. They just didn't have anything to make that was that tall. They didn't need
yeah.
it. They're still working on lace work with needles or bobbins. They're still working with knitting. They don't need the tall stitches. They're not thinking tall stitches. Let's fill it in this space. So it's really not until you don't see very commonly, or at least I haven't yet, until the mid 1860s.
Okay.
And
I've
then
heard this.
really into the 1870s and on is when the doubles come in. And one of these days I will do you guys a tutorial on a double 1 1/2.
What in the world?
I know, I found that and I was like, what are they talking about? It's a double 1 1/2 and a treble 1 1/2. Not the same as extended. And okay, so it's not the same as the extended double crochet, which was also a thing in the late 1800s. It's not new, that extended double crochet stitch.
Okay.
100 some years old now, okay?
I'm trying to picture the right. Take me through it. I got my hook.
Wrap over 3 times,
Okay.
insert, draw up a loop,
Got it.
pull through 2,
Yep.
yarn over, pull through 2,
Okay. Finished
yarn over,
it.
pull through, yarn over, pull through 3.
3.
There's your, you'll have 3 stitches left.
Oh man. Nifty.
Well, if you're
People
doing a
gotta
double,
watch me.
right, so that's your, so, okay, so I got to think on it. Anyway, what you end up doing, as opposed if you're doing a double, extended double, you'll yarn over and you'll chain 1 and then you'll work off your double.
Got
If you're
you.
doing an extended, you've yarned over 2 times. 2 times, okay, 2 times would be what we would usually do for a treble stitch. But instead, we're going to work it as if it was a double stitch. So I've yarned over twice for a treble. I'm going to pull up a loop. I now have 4 loops. I'm going to pull off, and then I'll pull through all of them. Those last 3 stitches are the half.
Got you.
So for a treble 1 1/2, instead of yarning over twice for a treble, yarn over 3 times, as in a double treble or a quadruple. Work it 1, 2, 3, just like it was a treble, but you'll have 3 stitches at the top of that stitch instead of a chain stitch as you have in an extended stitch. They are not the same length, believe it or not. They're not.
We have a question for you.
I had to work out the
Angela.
little size charts. What do we have?
I'll let you read it. Can you see
Oh,
it?
from Miss Angela. Do I rewrite? No, I do not. No, I do not rewrite the patterns for publication for sharing. I do make extensive notes on patterns. So when they get put away, it's like, here's the original printed pattern and here's all my notes. So I don't. Angela is the one that has dubbed me Contessa because I refuse to be the queen. I'm not the queen of crochet. There are much more qualified artisans out there than
Contessa.
myself.
That's
But I
original.
like the Contessa, so we'll do it. I'll take Contessa.
You might need to get it like your persona. I like that. You already have your natural persona is beautiful and purple. I'm like, ooh, get the whole garb, Contessa.
I'll be the Contessa.
All right, guys, if you have any questions for my wonderful friend Ayita, please make sure
And
you
it
put a
doesn't
question
have
mark
to
in
be
front.
Victorian. We can come forward. I do, like I said, my forte is vintage antique, so 1979 backwards. So if you have questions about right up through the 70s.
I got a question. I don't know if this is true or not. I heard crochet and knit were like a class thing some point in history. I don't know where in history. Is that true? Like I heard the poor people did crochet and knit was for the classier people.
I would actually think not. It's maybe it might have been self-imposed. You could possibly consider that from the standpoint of, in particular, like the Irish potato famine.
Yeah, they all crochet.
These people were starving. They were losing their land. They didn't have the funds, whatever. So you did have the poor people in complete communities binding together to make all these elements that got shipped off to England, that got put all together to make these garments. So yes, it was the much lower classes that were making all of this lace that the elite wanted to wear.
Yeah.
I long like a couple years back, there's an article somewhere I was reading about the arm movements in crochet versus knitting. Crochet was not particularly as dainty. Okay, so you're knitting and you're not moving a lot.
You're
Crochet
right.
tended to move more, and they thought that was not becoming. But then again, it did gain great favor with Queen and her
Yeah.
daughters. They crocheted and knitted. So I don't know why it fell off and came back and fell off and came back.
Side thing. Every time I hear the term Contessa, I think of the crown that the Queen of Hearts wore in the Disney animated Alice in Wonderland.
I don't
Let me
think,
get you a big crown.
yeah, I'll rather wear a tiara. I'll settle with a tiara.
All right. During the 1800s, was like yarn weights, was that a thing? Or was it like a typical average size weight of yarn? Or
No. What occurred in Australia still uses the ply system.
Mhm.
Now there is a formula that is still used in the industry in the industries today for the weight of the amount of yards per pound. There is a formula. It's quite convoluted if you ask me, but there is a formula for that. So a single ply of wool at this weight needed to have this many yards. Everything was based off of that. They came up with a similar one for cotton. A pound of cotton, single ply, weighed this much, give you this amount of yardage. So then now we have 2 ply, 3 ply, 4 ply is kind of where the sizings came from. So single ply is lace weight. Not
Okay.
not
I
that it
never
is,
understood.
but single ply, so single up to 2 ply, possibly. There's not very many threes. There were threes, but like 1, 0, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Those are our lace weights. But those still tended to be like, if you're at a 0 ply, that's a thread. That is microfiber. 4 plies,
Yeah.
sock weight. If you had to find it. So if you come across, I learned this the hard way. You come across a pattern that says a 4-ply fleecy. That is a sock weight or a very light sport weight. Somewhere in there, 4 plies. Australia still uses the ply system. Now in the US, our ball bands get a little confusing because I remember when Red Heart used to say 4-ply worsted weight. So when I did my first pattern in a
You thought.
4-ply, I went to a worsted weight. Needless to
Oh.
say, this cape is huge because it should have been a thin sport weight, not a 4-ply worsted weight.
I get so confused with ply because sometimes people's like, maybe I guess from Australia, like, can you
Mhm.
tell me what ply yarn that is? I'm like, I cannot. I do not know.
Yes, so you have to go 4-ply, 6-ply, 8-ply, 10-ply, 12-ply. Australia still uses the ply system. Whether that yarn's actually plied or not, that's their numeric system versus the CYC that we use now, 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Oh, my head. Okay, we have a question
So
for you.
no.
Tracy says, in a lot of my great grandma's photos, a lot of the baby boys had the same dress in photos as girls. I was curious if this was common, and if so, why? They dress like, yeah, I've
Yes,
noticed that.
yes. Um, Up through essentially potty training. It's much easier to train boy or girl to use because we didn't have toilets. We still had chamber pots, bedpans. It's much easier to train a child to squat or position over a bowl when you don't have to worry about pulling down breeches.
Yeah.
So quite often you do not see boy children wearing pantaloons of any kind until they are fully potty trained.
Hmm.
It was a matter of convenience. It was just, honestly, for the most part, it was a matter of convenience.
Makes sense.
It's easy. I mean, seriously, it's easy if you just got to pull it up, hike it up, and do it, and go. Then pants, right?
Well, my babies were babies. I just left them. Luckily, they were babies in the summertime, so they was just
Run around naked.
yeah, it's fine with me. Same thing. But crazy poppy lady, she said we were taught that worsted is not a weight; it's a process. I
It is
learned that
not a
there.
weight. You are correct. Yes, it is not a weight.
Let's
It
give her a
is a
cheers.
process. Thank you. Thank you for recognizing. I very rarely use that, but it's still on the ball bands, and it's just become, very, very customary. But by technicality, worsted is a style of processing, not a weight. Aran is a weight. So Aran is what we would consider a heavy 4. It's not a 5. It's not a bulky. It's just a little bit heavier 4. So it is a true weight. Worsted is not a weight. Worsted is a style just to make the fibers all lay out nice and smooth. They're all in alignment. Lets us knit them, crochet them, whatever we're going to do with them easier because all the fibers are nicely in alignment. As opposed to just combing, as opposed to just like, So yeah, I mean, your hair lays nicer when it's in alignment as opposed to when you rat it up and tease it. Okay. That's the same concept between whether it's just been carded and stretched and laid out or whether it's actually been combed to lay pretty. Yes, I believe an Aran is a 10 weight, is a 10 ply.
My brain is getting boggled. All right. Right now, most of the patterns, like the free patterns in a big box store, you'll see the not worsted weight yarn, but the medium weight yarn or whatever in the stores. What was the go-to yarn ply back in the 1800s?
4 plies.
When did we start doing all this? Like
they had heavier plies, but honestly the sock weights were the most common, even for an outer garment. Like this thing.
Okay.
So this thing, I know it looks big. It is because it's an opera cloak. It is big.
It's a what?
This is called an opera cloak. There's a top to it somewhere.
Well, wait, we're patient because I need to see this.
So this is from 1853. Oops. And I'm trying to find my top. Anyway. So this would be an outer garment. I love this because look at these sleeves. Look at that. Hello.
Oh, I get it. The opera cape. Yes.
So this is your evening wear and your outer wear. But this piece I first did in 4-ply worsted.
So that was huge.
And not that one. My son calls it the wizard's cloak because he's 6'2", 200 pounds, and it goes from here to the floor. It's huge.
Wizard's cloak.
The wizard's cloak. I mean, the hood on its things it's monstrous. So that's why I had to what are they talking about? It's like they're trying to talk to me, and I had to go through and narrow down. And the practice of the hook matches the yarn size is not a thing. The hook determines the size of whatever you're making. Yeah. So literally, you would take a 4-ply, maybe a 6. So again, sock weight, light sport, 1 or 2 right in here, and a 9mm hook. Now you think you're going to have some monster holes in this, right? That entire piece is single crochet for one, and you think you're going to have a lot of air, but it's wool. Should be. It would have been wool. It's thermoregulating. It's got air pockets. It's loft. You just adjust your hook size to the garment you're making. They very rarely told you what any kind of gauge was. If they even gave you a starting chain, Oh, and if it's not long enough, just go up a hook size. If it's not big.
Just do this.
So you just throw the whole thread mark matches hook out the door. You just use what works for what you're making. That's the rule. It works for what I'm making, unless they specifically tell you a size. It's for what I'm making. Make it fit. That's how this works. So I've ultimately, that one is still too big, but I like to wear it around the house. It's like my big blanket, but it's still light because I made that one with Lion Brand, Comfy Cotton.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lion Brand there.
Anniversary.
and brought my hook down to a K. Considerably size different.
What?
But not quite. But
What size is that made with?
The K being what is a K? 6?
No.
7. I don't know. I use vintage hooks with vintage sizes on them.
You just tell me the letter. That's fine. I can't remember
It's
the
okay.
millimeter. I know 6 is always J.
It's a K.
Okay. So.
But it would have been a vintage K, and I'll tell you right now that a 1970s boy K hook is not the same size as a 1987 boy K hook. I can verify that they're not the same size.
Okay, when did that become standardized? Do you know anything about that?
I found that out the hard way because I was trying to do a pattern that called for a K hook, and it was coming out too big. I could not make gauge with this K hook, and I seriously, if it says pull out an H 5mm hook, I can nail gauge. I have no problems with that. I never have. I could not get gauge with. I was like, come on, where's the problem? I measured my hooks, and my vintage, probably mid-70s boy K hook was the size of a modern L. I was a whole millimeter off. That millimeter makes the difference, people.
Yeah. Oh.
So I use vintage hooks for vintage patterns.
Knitting Crochet Tiger says, is that a false fur edging on the opera cape? And
yes.
How did you work that in?
That is just
we want to see it up close.
Like, it's just single crocheted on. Yeah, you can't really see it. But yeah, no, that's your standard faux fur yarn. Okay. Mm-hmm. And from the looks of it, I can't look at, let's feel it. That's roughly 2 rows of single crochet. Yeah. Because you can't see it, you got to feel it. It's like,
you're such a crocheter. Wait, okay, look at me right now. This is you.
I gotta think about it. It's like thinking. Nope, sorry, that's 1 row.
That's like crochet magic.
It's faux fur, 1 row of single crochet. That's all that is.
Hello. Oh, we got somebody new here. Hello. They're new here. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
And here we go. There's somebody else. Ayita, I'm seriously learning so much. You're like full of so much crochet information.
Oh, that's my pleasure, my absolute pleasure. Miss Ola Joe, are you still in the house?
We'll find out because there's like a 20-second delay. Oh, calling Ola Joe to the keyboard right now.
I'm just gonna throw you guys out some information on hooks real quick, and I'm just gonna do this one for Ola Joe's benefit.
Give me some hook knowledge.
Give you some hook knowledge. I shared this with Miss Ola with Miss Ola on my live the other day. So
she's here.
She is like me, and we kind of have this thing with collecting hooks. And I know this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt us both because I'm never going to complete my collection, but I'm going to give you guys a little information on hooks. At least we're going to date one particular style.
Okay.
Let me pull them out here real quick. All right. Since I'm a boy lover, this is why I know this, because I dove into these. All right. These boy hooks are black. These are black anodized hooks. All right.
Okay.
Now, in the U.S., hook production will say boy and Bates predominantly at this time. During World War II, so June 1942 through May 1945, Boy Needle Company was the only U.S. company continue to manufacture crochet hooks on limited scale. However, the U.S. government said you cannot nickel plate them because nickel plating has to go to the military. That is what all of our steel hooks are. That nice shine, that's nickel plating on top of your steel. Boy figured out a way to black anodize their hooks. So of all your hooks in your collection, if you can come across a black, it's not paint, it will not chip off these. Trust me, this wears exceptionally well. June 1942, I had to look it up again, through May 1945, boy hooks are black.
That's how much are those like rare? I
And
mean,
somebody else has figured that out because these are getting harder and harder and harder to find. And I want a complete set.
I'm going to dig in my box for you. I'm going to look. So I'm going to go upstairs to my bag and start.
I just want to complete from 00s through 14. I want a complete set.
How many more you need? What are we looking for, guys? If you have this one to the crochet antiquarian,
and we could even trade out. So we have, I mean, seriously, do I have duplicates here? Okay, we got a 00, a 0.
Well, you make me want to run upstairs and get my bag.
A 1, a 2. Okay, I need everything. Let's see, from a 3 to a 10, and then a 13 and a 14.
No, every time I'm going to go to
3
a
through
yard
10.
sale, thrift store, I'm looking. I'm like, oh, it's not black. I did not know that.
I look at when I go to eBay and I go through the lots. That's what I look at. I'm looking for those black hooks immediately. It's like,
what is your oldest crochet acquisition? What is your oldest crochet thing that you have that you found?
I think at this point it is, whoops, not one of my boy hooks. I think it is one of my, hold on, might be a millward. I do have a hook who's, sorry about that. And I just put that in the wrong container. Oops. Where'd the hook binder go? Where's my hook binder?
Oh, Joe nicely said. So one more time for the audience. When you're out at your thrift store or the yard sales this summer, Ayita needs a 3 to a 10. And a
3 to a 10 and a 13, 14. They might have a 15. I haven't verified that they still were making 15s at that time. What did I just do?
This is for a good cause. You look at sad music in the background. Helping hook her out.
There it is. Okay, so I'm not quite as organized as I'd like to be, but I have started putting the hooks in the binder. I need to redo that. Okay. Oh, I'm going to segue real quick while I'm still looking for the oldest one. If you're shopping for hooks and you come across the Susan Bates clips-on, okay, the clips-ons are kind of cool. The clips-ons have colored nubbies at the end that were color-coded, and they had a permanent clip that you basically used as a stitch keeper. You just hooked your hook into your work and used it as a stitch marker.
Never seen that.
They had ceramic tops and they had plastic tops. Just so everybody knows, 2 different color code systems. That was marketing. That way you couldn't go, oh my God, I'm missing my green clips on, and well, they only had it in plastic. They're not even going to be the same size. The plastic clips-ons have their sizes per color codes, and the ceramic ones have their color code. They're not interchangeable. That was totally marketing, so that you had to buy a brand new set, right? You have to go buy, because they don't match. They don't match. You have to go get a whole new set.
Stevie gave us a compliment. Y'all are having a great hair, except for me. Thank you. You're having a great hair day.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. The oldest would probably be, it's not the millward. Hold on.
Here we go. While you're looking, we got another one. Alicia, if we weren't all crocheters here, that line, help a hooker out, would have have a naughty meaning to it. I play with the word hooker all the time. When I first meet people, I never know what to call myself. So I just go with shock value. I'm like, I'm a professional
Exactly.
hooker. I'm a hooker.
Exactly.
They're like, what? And it instantly like lightens people up a little bit. I'm a hooker.
Yeah. Come on. Well, how often do you hook? I hook all day long, honey. All day, all night. I'm a late night hooker.
No, I work hard for my hooker money.
I
I do.
do.
I make a living out of it.
I have to do that like 16 hours a day. What are you talking about? Anyway.
Demonetized.
Okay, so one of the oldest hooks that I've come across is it is a W. Woodfield and Sons. The company was established in Redditch, England in 1850. Redditch, England was like needle making heaven for like all like sewing needle companies. Boom, 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 just in this entire town. So when they figured out that they kind of cut the notch off of a sewing needle, they got a crochet hook. That's literally the first ones. Just cut that eye open.
Yeah.
Okay. Then a lot of the sewing needle companies also made crochet hooks, or crochet needles, as they called them then, because they called knitting needles were called pins, crochet hooks were called needles.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So this one, I'm just going to hold the page up to you.
Get back to you in a second.
I cannot verify, in fact, that this one is it's from somewhere between 1850 to like 1880. I'm somewhere in there. Because according to research, 1889, this company was bought by another bigger company, and Millward's styles were not the same. Okay. Let's just put that way. Their style hooks were not the same.
Sorry, my son wants to say hi.
Hey, wait. Sweetheart. Hi. So, hey. Happy late birthday. So,
oh, yeah, it was his birthday. He just turned 12 years old.
It was his birthday not too long ago. That's right. So, this hook, I'm just going to take it off here. It's easier if I just take it off. So, this hook has a double flat spot.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell, but they have engravings all across the bottom.
I see them.
So it's rather ornate, and it has this little strange little ball on one end. So this one is somewhere between 1850 to 1878.
How did you find that one? Was it like...
Believe it or not, I have a remnant store that I go to for because she like does estate sales. And a friend, when I was still belly dancing and we were doing our costuming, she's like, "Oh, you need to go check out the store." Okay, she only opened 2 days a week, so you got to schedule to get in there and get, And I'm like wandering around, and she had miscellaneous balls of threads. She had like a jar of hooks, and I went,
"Yeah, she doesn't know.
She doesn't know." So literally, it's like, okay, I will just. How much for the jar? She's like, "What is how much for the jar? You want all of those?" "Yes, I want all of them." So I basically, "Thank you."
You only wanted one of them.
At that time, I was like, "No, I wanted them all. I didn't care what they were,
Okay.
If they were, I didn't know." But so I came home and I start sorting them out, and I start looking at them and matching them up, and just diving into trying to research the engravings, the sizings of them, and that kind of thing. And so my collection has just kind of grown. So thrift stores are your best bet. Absolutely your best bet. I got to divide these back out. So we have some.
That says, "Ooh, what's that?"
That's a bone. That's a double-ended bone hook. I got bone. Yeah, we have bone hooks.
Is it made of, do you think? Or typically was it made from?
Cow.
Okay.
It's a piece. Those were femur bones. Cow leg bone, femur bones. We have this little itty bitty guy this is a Venus hook. This is a safety hook. Notice how short it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Safety hook. It's a safety hook. Safety hooks are shorter than your standard hook because they came with, notice, look at the size of that head though.
Yeah,
It
die.
says
Tell
it's a
somebody.
10. That's not a modern 10. Trust me. I'll put that at a 12 easily. But they came with these little metal caps. Safety hook. So
Safety.
essentially, when you got ready to use it, you took the cap off and you put it on the other end, thereby
Right.
extending your hook, but also making it safe for travel so it wouldn't poke through your work and it won't poke into your person. I have stabbed myself with these little itty bitty hooks, trust me, several times.
I've got those little like I don't even know why I have small crochet hooks. I never use them. I just yard sale, they're just in there. And if I accidentally put them upside down, they'll stab through my bag and I can't get them out because they're
Yes. Yes,
yeah.
that's why I carry things in M&M tubes.
Oh. We talked about this a little bit already, but if you don't mind
Uh-huh.
recycling back, because we're gonna end this a little bit sooner.
Go
But
ahead.
decor, crochet decor. We already
Crochet
did the
decor.
1800. Do you have any decor ideas for like the early 1900s, before the first war? Well, yeah.
Yes, they still pretty much loved to use doilies. They were, I see that they were not so delicate any longer. They started getting into the thicker yarns for
Okay.
your chair covers, your that kind of thing, as opposed to the fine cotton lace pieces. They were starting to get a little thicker. I'm not really sure why that is. I mean, I'm sure there's some industry reason for that. But I do see that the pieces where they kind of look the same are just bigger.
Yeah.
So like the entire arm cover or across the entire back of the sofa as opposed to just in sections. They did the
I
entire.
pictured in the shows I watched. Yeah.
Hmm. And then you start seeing a lot. The Afghans came out of the bedroom and were now um, slightly
Standing out.
downsized. They were slightly downsized them and they were called sofa
The little,
blankets.
the little circular ones, the pretty ones, that
Some of
little
those were
pretty.
circular, but you had the blankets that were on your bed, but then you had what they literally called sofa blankets, which is like just wide enough to cover your body while you're on the couch taking your afternoon nap.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
So it's like smaller than a twin, but so then you would start seeing that sofa blanket on the back side of the couch also, as opposed to just coverings the couch. They didn't those kind of linens were like folded up and put under or in a cabinet, but now you start seeing them out.
Hmm.
I mean, actually purposely put out on the things. Um, we're getting a lot more industrious with rugs, area rugs, rugging. Actually, rugging starts to become more of a thing. The whole rag rug, reuse, reduce, reuse
Yeah,
is
my grandmother was always making
mhm.
rag
Ribbon
rugs.
rugs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. I made a few ribbon rugs also.
Okay, Jeanette says, I have an Oxmoor House size G hook that says 14K gold, probably some kind of promotion. And I see you're like, I got it. I got it.
You mean
What is
this
this?
one? You mean this one?
Is this a special hook? What's so great about this hook? What is this?
Yes, this is yes, actually it's supposed to be. I have never had it tested. It's supposed to be 14 karat gold plated, gold electroplated, not solid, but gold electroplated. This was um I got this in the 80s, early 80s. So if you had a subscription to like Annie's Attic and you were getting monthly stuff in from them, a lot of times they throw a hook in there for this much project. They wouldn't give you the yarn, but they throw a hook in there for you. And that's what this is. This is from somebody. I had a subscription, and obviously the printer was Oxmoor House, which is a publication, a publicist. And this was one of the hooks that I got in some subscription I had. But it says 14K size G Oxmoor House on it.
Hefty. We have one from Mandy. When did crochet rugs first become popular?
I really do not know that one, although I am aware that my grandmother was making them in the 50s.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's just having spent time and talking with her. She's like, oh yeah, we made this kind of rug in the 50s. My mother's mother was then making crocheted rugs, basically not just the round rag rugs, but she had they took um, they took the ribbon or rag, whatever cordage, and they single crocheted over it and then fold it back over for the next row and crochet over it. So the fabric went like this and it was joined with single crochets over the top of it. That was her favorite method of doing it.
Hey, Crochet Tiger had a comment. Crochet Afghans on the back of the couch is now a Middle American icon. Both my grandmothers had a
Uh-huh.
crochet Afghan on their couch. I have a crochet Afghan on my couch right over there.
Too.
Like my grandmother,
Yep.
just what we do.
That's what we did. That afternoon has to go. You can see me look around. I have a pillow in here somewhere that my grandmother made. This is that pillow cover, big round pillows, flower kind of looking thing. It's like I have this vintage pillow that my grandmother made. So
Megan
yeah,
says,
that's
oh, I
very,
love
very
all
much.
this knowledge being shared. I'm 21 years old and don't want the art of crocheting being forgotten in my generation. So thank you so much, guys. That is so awesome.
Yes.
Cheers to
So
you.
one last little tidbit I
Go ahead.
do want to share. Notice that there's a few more vintage crocheters, especially popped up on the YouTube. Just want to give you one little key. If you're working a pattern, or when you are working your pattern, first of all, they were notoriously for not telling you to chain up to the next row. Okay? They assumed you knew that. However, carefully look at your pattern, and if it says to start, you end here, and it says to start over here, that does not mean slip stitch to there. That means literally cut it and join over here. At least 18 the early 1840s, when they really started making patterns, well up into the 1860s, it was very common for crochet to be unidirectional. You did this row, you cut, you joined, you went, you cut, you joined. They liked it having the right side always facing you. Just like in knitting, we don't turn it, it's always facing you. Tunisian crochet, the right side is always facing you. So if that pattern is looking weird, like
It's
how am I supposed
because
to, how do I get over here? You don't. You cut and you join over here. Simple as that.
and I want to say thank you, Jean, for becoming a new member on my channel. I have a little bit of wine I've been
Oh,
sipping. This is all I
no.
have left. I ran out of wine, and I live in Pennsylvania, and my daughter has my car for work. I just can't go to the store and get more wine because in Pennsylvania on Sundays when I could go tomorrow, so closed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ours are
Yeah,
open till like 1. I mean, you gotta go get breakfast wine because they close early, but you can still go. Or maybe
yeah.
close at 6. No, they close at 6.
Cheers to you. But we've already gone well over an hour, so I'm going to wrap this up for all of this. I would like to say thank you, Ayita, for coming on my channel again. You're the
My
best.
pleasure. My pleasure. I love it. This is fun. Fun, fun, fun.
All right, so guys, if you anything you want to tell the guys goodbye or anything?
So just if you have any questions beyond what you see right here, please. I live on Instagram, so really, so that's the best place to get me. First of all, to DM me. I am the late night crocheter, so I go live all the time, like between 9 and 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. So it's already an hour later than you Eastern people. I'm in Central Time, but I go late night to like 2 a.m.
She's a party
So
animal. I'm asleep.
no, just that's I'm a night owl. So, but send me questions. I'll do my best to try to help you out. As Angela had asked, no, I do not rewrite the patterns, but I will try, if I can, help you work through one.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this live stream. Next week, I'm having Hook by Katie Not to be
Whoop!
confused with Robin, but Hooked by
No,
Katie,
Katie,
the mother of
yes.
Crochet Dragons, on my
That's
channel
right.
for the Meet the Maker. So make sure you come back next week to see her. All right, guys. We'll see you all next time.
Happy
Bye, guys.
hooking.